All right, everybody. Welcome to the show. I am your host, Bryan, the Hype Ballard, and we are going to get into a little NXT on the PPV, or the Premium Live event, of In Your House. This was an interesting little show tonight. This is a little bit of a late, way too late retro review that I'm going to get in here. But you know what? I like NXT content. I like seeing what's happening in the minor leagues, and I want to see what's coming up on the main roster soon. So, let's get in. All right, our first matchup of the evening. This was a six-man tag match, right? You always like to open up with these kind of matches. It helps get the crowd going, and it helps, get some of the young talent a chance to want to prove themselves to really steal the show a little bit, right? So ultimately, this was a six-man match, and this starts out in your house. Premium Live event kicks off with Legado Fantasma, let me try that again, making their way to the ring, and the referee reaches out inside the steel steps and he pulls out Tony D'Angelo's crowbar and throws it away immediately. Tony D trying to get a little cheating edge there with his group. So the key here is that the losing team joins the winning team. So you've got the Latino team, you've got the Italian team, and they're in a street fight, right? So it sounds something out of a movie with maybe some sharks and some jets. And it's a movie I saw. I can't think of, maybe a story, if you will, like on the West Side, a West Side Story. You know what I'm going for there. Anyway, we start this out. Wild starts with 2 dimes, and they lock up, and then Wild grabs a headlock, but gets a shot off, and then hits a pop-up drop kick. Del Toro and Stacks tags in, and Del Toro connects with a shoulder tackle, then front flips over Stacks and hits a head scissors. Stacks kicks him away from the corner and hits a drop kick in the middle of the rope. Both men duck, and both men land right hands and stumble to the corners, all the way back. Escobar and D'Angelo tag in, and the crowd is now going wild because these two main guys are going to go at it in this matchup. They lock up and struggle for control. Escobar shoots off Tony and hits a drop kick and then looks for another, but Stacks gets involved, and suddenly every man rushes into the ring all in like a hockey fight style, and the D'Angelo family is gaining control. Legado regains control over two dimes and then makes a bunch of quick tags back and forth. 2 dimes kicks out of the enziguri and a rolling suplex, and Del Toro with a European uppercut. Then it looks for a springboard but gets shoved over the ropes and to the floor, and Stacks tags in and goes on out to beat Del Toro on the floor. Meanwhile, the D'Angelo family keeps Del Toro isolated in their corner and stomps him over and over and over and over again. And then finally, Stacks grabs a submission and he keeps him down for a minute. Then D'Angelo tags D'Angelo, who hits a butterfly suplex. 2 dimes tags in and connects with a shoulder tackle right immediately. Then Tony tags back in and hits a backbreaker on Stacks. So Stacks then follows up with an elbow drop off the top rope. Del Toro fights up from a sleeper and clubs Stacks in the gut a few times. He counters a suplex, rolls over him and tags Escobar. D'Angelo comes in the opposite, but Escobar runs over him and clotheslines it with a Frankensteiner. Escobar knocks Stacks and 2 dimes off the apron. Then Del Toro and Wild leaps over the ropes right onto him, and the crowd's going nuts. Escobar hits Tony with a suicide dive, and the crowd is loving every bit of it. Escobar hits D'Angelo back inside, and he looks for the Phantom Driver, but Tony counters it and runs him into the corner. Escobar turns the tables and puts D'Angelo on the rope. Escobar wants him in a Super Frankensteiner, but Stacks trips him up. Del Toro and 2 dimes get tags, and Cruz avoids him in the corner before landing on a missile drop kick. Del Toro goes up top for a Phoenix Splash, but nobody's home at the bottom, and 2 dimes hits a clothesline. Stacks tags in and teams with the 2 dimes, but Wild sends 2 dimes on the outside. Then him and Del Toro hit a sweep and Seguri combo for a near fall. All 6 men are down. The fans are now chanting, "This is awesome! This is awesome!" They all get to their feet on opposite sides of the ring, and then they rush each other, and it's a big old brawl. We're left with Escobar and D'Angelo, and they hit the stereo clotheslines and go down. Elektra Lopez hands Escobar a pair of brass knuckles, and D'Angelo gets his crowbar. The referee gets distracted, and both men lose their weapons. In chaos, Joan Wild actually hits Stacks with the crowbar in all this chaos. And then Tony hits Wilds with the brass knuckles. Boom! Both men fall. Stacks lands on Wild and gets the pinfall. And the winner, Tony D'Angelo, Channing Stacks Lorenzo, and Troy Two Dimes Donovan is your winners in the match, which means Legado del Fantasma has to join Tony D'Angelo's crew. And that's the way this one ended, folks. It was a good opening match. They went back and forth, a lot of just boom, 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 high intense action all the way. It was a street fight and a 6-man tag match. Let's just get that straight out of the way right now, guys. After that, that heats up the crowd a little bit. It was a nice pacing. It didn't overstay its welcome, and we get a promo after that. We get a promo of Fire. We see a vignette of Alba Fire, who says that she plans on releasing her ancestral power and leaving her opponents in her wake. Where there's smoke, there's fire, is the promo she hits. Lash, Legend, and some of the girls are watching the monitor backstage, and Legend is complaining about Fire. Tatum Paxley says that why doesn't she shut up and challenge Fire to a match, but then Legend makes an excuse and Paxley says she'll do it. Alright, so Kaylee Ray. Let's talk about Kaylee Ray. Kaylee Ray is a good wrestler. I was liking the Kaylee Ray gimmick. The red hair, the badass. I know she's Becky Lynch-like, but Becky's moved on now. She's beyond this part of it. She was the badass. She was the badass lass with the baseball bat, and now she has to change her name to Alba Fire, claiming that it's a family thing. The family thing is the WWE wants to own all the copyrights to anybody they feel they're going to be attached to. And Alba Fire, you can't be Kaylee Ray, you got to be Alba Fire, right? I'm not hating the Alba Fire name. I like it, actually. It's like Alba Fire. It's well thought out. It's one thing when you do it to just do it and drop somebody's name from 2 words to 1. It's stupid, right? Except for Rusev. That worked out somehow. But no, you got Kaylee Ray. It rolls off the tongue, right? It's a wrestling name. Going to Alba Fire. I'm not hating on Alba Fire, but they're going to get away with it this time, all right? Let's go to the next one. And our next match is the women's tag team match, because you know how Toxic Attraction has been running wild in this indie scene. Okay, so basically in NXT, Toxic Attraction holds all the women's titles, the tag and the main. And so this is going to be the champions, Toxic Attraction, taking on Kayden Carter and Katana Chance. The match kicks off with Toxic Attraction attacking Kayden and Katana before the bell can even ring. The challengers weather the storm, and they send both to the outside and dive over the ropes. And the referee rings the bell at this point, and Carter and Jane get in the ring, and Gigi isn't even on the apron. Kayden whips Chance into JC for a 1 count. Katana drop kicks JC and tags Carter, who kicks Jane in the corner. Dolan gets a blind tag and pulls Katana's hair. Jane drops Katana, and Dolan comes in and kicks her back. Jane tags in again, and Dolan whips Katana into her clothesline. Dolan chokes and Chance basically in the corner, and then Jane hits a cannonball. Alright, so they just kind of did some standard moves here, right, guys? You get the idea of the action. As you go a little bit further in the match, you get, they go back and forth here, and then they get Jane catches Carter with a German suplex in a spot there. Carter fights out, and it gets the backbreaker to Jane, and then Chance comes off the ropes, double stomps for a near fall. 1 and a 2, but no, you know how that goes. And then after that, Katana hits a super Frankensteiner to Jane, and she lands on Dolan. So this is kind of where maybe business might start to pick up a little bit. Jane with a cheap shot, and then she throws Chance. Dolan gets the tag, and they hit a bit of a high-low and cover but Carter tags for a cover, but Carter tags in Gigi onto them and to break up the pin. So Carter and Jane brawl on the apron, and Caden hits a cutter, and then they both fall to the floor. Dolan and Katana are left in the ring, and they trade shots and blows right back and forth. Chance drops Dolan for a 1 and a 2, then tags Carter, and they get to hit a 450 neck breaker. Hayne breaks the pin and gets the tag, and they go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then finally, Carter runs at Jane, but gets a sent right through the ropes, and Dolan lands a cheap shot. Then JC lands a German suplex, boom, for the win and the pin. 1, 2, 3, it's Toxic Attractions night, and those titles aren't going anywhere, ladies, because it's Toxic Attractions night in their house. All right, we're taking backstage next, and we're showing a segment with Pretty Deadly, who is backstage getting ready for their tag match and their title defense, brushing their hair, complimenting each other, and singing about what happened. They hate, and about how much they hate the Creed brothers when they see Julius and Brutus warming up, and then they freak out a little bit. Up next was a very competitive match that I actually liked. I was going to say it's probably my match of the night. It was a pretty good match. It was a North American Championship between the champion Cameron Grimes and Carmelo Hayes with Trick Williams. So I feel like this was the match, that was supposed to be the highlight of the match, that kind of well placed in the middle of the card too. So the match gets locked underway, and they share a stare down immediately. That's right, a stare down. A stare down between the former champion Carmelo Hayes, who wants his belt back from Cameron Grimes, and he feels like he deserves it because he shouldn't have lost that match. They lock up and they struggle for control. They exchange reversals, and Grimes catches Mello with an inside cradle for a 1 and a 2 count. Hayes is sent to the apron where his shoulders Grimes, and he goes over the top rope. Grimes avoids Hayes and looks for the cave-in, but Carmelo falls away from it and looks scared. Grimes whips Hayes to the rope and catches him with a kick, and then lands some European uppercuts. Hayes elbows Grimes, but then they get caught back in the back body drop for a penalty kick. Hayes is sent to the apron and knocked out to the floor. Hayes looks for a suicide dive, but Grimes kicks him instead, and then goes up top and lands a flying cross body for a 2 count. Hayes rolls out, and Grimes goes after him, but Carmelo blocks the kick and trips him. Hayes goes inside, and then he leaps over the ropes and DDTs Grimes on the apron. Wow, what a move. Both men are down on the floor, and both have been beaten, but both beat the 10 count. They barely get back in the ring. They trade counters, and Hayes wants a springboard leg drop on Grimes, but he avoids it. Pretty high intense match so far, guys. We're going to continue on. Hayes then avoids a top rope cave in from Grimes and hits a springboard clothesline for a 2 count. Hayes punches Grimes in the corner and chokes him using the ropes. Trick then tries Grimes in the middle of the rope using a do-rag, and Grimes fights free, and he gets caught with a tilt-a-whirl arm breaker. The champion fights out of the submission, lands a kick, but gets tripped by Trick. And then Mello jumps onto the middle rope for a springboard, a massive, but Grimes jumps on beside him and hits a massive reverse Spanish fly. At this point, Cameron, with his right hand, sends Hayes into the outside for a penalty kick on the apron. Back inside the ring, Grimes counters with head scissors with a sidewalk slam and a near fall. Hayes counters a suplex, and Grimes lands a super kick and covers. Mello, and gets a finger on the bottom rope. Grimes looks a little for a poison rana, and Hayes holds onto the rope and then follows with a code breaker for a near fall. Haynes wants a top rope famouser. That's right, he wants to go to his go-to, but Grimes avoids it. Grimes ducks him and connects with the spinning crossbody, but again, Hayes kicks out. Grimes wants the cave in, but Hayes kicks him. And so it goes back and forth again, right? Cameron dives over the rope this time in desperation, both him and Trick. Grimes gets Hayes back into the ring somehow, but as he tries to slide in, Trick grabs his leg and Grimes fights with Williams. And then the referee is distracted and Grimes pulls him onto the apron and hits him for a cave-in and then gets in the ring. Grimes looks for a splash, but Hayes avoids it and he goes up at the top, and he hits his famouser and scores the pinfall. And the winner and the new North American champion, Carmelo Hayes. You know, it was the right move, guys. I thought the belt coming off Carmelo was a little too soon, and I think they got the job done putting the title back on Carmelo. So that's where it needs to be. North American champion on an athletic guy. I like it. Let's keep him on that title for a while. All right, next we get a backstage segment with Joe Gacy and his bodyguard, Parker Bourgeau. Where you at, man? Where you at, Parker? I know where you're at. You're out there on Twitter land right now, and you are, going to be tearing it up pretty soon, Parker. So hang in there, brother. Joe Gacy is in a dark room with his druids, and he says their time is now. They've torn down the nostalgia in all hope for forging a new future. Tonight becomes the beacon of change and leaves in your house with a new NXT champion. We see a music video from MVP and Amos in which MVP raps about Bobby Lashley and Amos, and MVP faces Lashley tomorrow night at Hell in a Cell. You can read all about that here on the channel. You can come on in and watch all these videos on our coverage. All right, we've got the women's NXT championship match up next. It is Mandy Rose. We like Mandy Rose, especially down with Toxic Attraction. I like the whole Toxic Attraction vibe. It's good. It's got consistency in a story, in a group, a stable. NXT shows need stables. They need things like this. They need somebody to defeat and chase. And then they got Wendy Chu. You're either going to like or hate Wendy Chu. You might know her. She's the sleepy girl. She just can't stay awake. She wears her pajamas to the ring. She has a little sleeper mask on, and she just, falls asleep in the matches and uses her opponent's legs as pillows. That's Wendy Chu. Wendy Choo Choo, all the way to the bedtime. So, starting out, she's getting a title shot against an athlete like Mandy Rose. If she can wake up and hopefully make it there, and, it's like wrestling a child. Chu pokes fun and at the beginning, and then Rose beats her down into the corner. Wendy fires back, but she gets caught in a fallaway slam, and Rose shoulder tackles Chu in the corner a few times. Chu with a backslide for a 1 count, and then her for a drop kick. Chu puts Rose in the corner and kicks her in the face, and then Chu then goes to look for the nap time pillow from the drop. So but Rose rolls out of the way before the mount punches. So Rose slams Chu's face in the mat repeatedly, and the fans chant Wendy, Wendy. Rose beats Chu in the corner before grabbing a body scissors. Chu tries to fight up, but Rose drops her with a clothesline. Rose lands a superplex for a 2 count, but she's starting to get frustrated, and Chu lands a kick, but Rose catches it. And then catches the second one, and it hits a reverse slam for a 2 count. Rose takes Wendy's sleep mask and makes her angry. Chu punches Mandy, but Rose gets the better of this exchange, and it goes for an abdominal stretch. Chu with a roll up for a 2 count, and then a series of kicks. Chu hits a belly to belly, and the handspring splash in the corner. Chu lands the nap time elbow drop, and Rose rolls outside. Chu hits the ropes and connects with the baseball slide. She looks for a handsome handspring over the ropes. And she plants her feet with a spine buster, basically. This match goes on and on. It's just kind of back and forth. They're trying to have a back and forth, you know, bouncing off the rope, smacking each other, doing a spine buster. You know, half of her jumpsuit, you know, just goes up and down, right? They do a couple pin motions here. And, I mean, the match just was kind of all over the place, right? It's interesting, right? And then as I'm watching this, you know, Wendy kicks Rose and lands a full Nelson slam. Chu goes up to the top, but Rose slings her off. More of the same stuff, just back and forth. It's almost like a girl cafe where they're just pushing each other around and pushing each other off with a little bit of wrestling moves. Chu goes up to the top, but Rose slings her off using her own jumpsuit and follows up with a running knee for the win. Okay. NXT Women's Breakout Tournament title finalist Tiffany Stratton, Roxana Perez, is interviewed backstage, and Stratton berates Mackenzie Mitchell for saying that this is the women's tournament, and so that her name should already be on the trophy, considering that Perez is a child. Perez says that Stratton may get an opportunity as well. So they just kind of going with these girl things. They wanted to get past this segment, you could tell. You know, Mandy won. Let's talk about the match. Mandy won. Okay, the segments, whatever. Mandy won. That's the right choice. Mandy's still got a lot of work to do, and she does not have any business losing to Wendy Chu. Okay? So, Wendy, you're a gimmick. You're doing it well. I gotta say that. I want to give you a compliment, Wendy. You're a gimmick, but you're doing it very well. But right now, you're kind of doing the Santino type funny stuff, right? You're just the sleepy girl that needs to be put to bed. So let's go on to, this is business is about to pick up. We have the NXT Tag Team Championships, and this is going to be Pretty Deadly, the champions, who were just talking in the hall about the Creed brothers. And we got the Creed brothers on the other side from my hometown, and the Creed brothers, if they lose, they are out of the Diamond Mine. Okay, so they're kicked out of the island. They're off the group, right? So this match begins with Brutus and Kit Wilson. And Wilson hits his antics to take control early, but Brutus's strength wins him over. Brutus with a gator roll and then throws Kit across the ring. Twice, actually. And Julius tags in, and Kit leaves the ring, and Julius chases, but coming back inside is Pretty Deadly. He beats them down in the corner, and Julius fights up and throws both Kit and Elton a few times, but Brutus comes in and hits the stereo German suplexes on Julius. The Creeds grab a submission at the same time, but both Kit and Elton get up to the ropes, so they have to regroup. This goes a little further, and then Prince grabs a headlock. We need a rest move here. Gets a shot off, and then hits a shoulder tackle. And then, Julius leaps over Elton, and Mule kicks him before grabbing another arm lock. So Prince fights up when tags in Wilson illegally, distracting the referee so they can keep the cheap shot on Brutus and Julius going. The Creeds get back in and double team, and it's all knees to gut, right? So at this point, Pretty Deadly roll outside, and they regroup again, and Julius goes out, but Lorne basically shoves him back in the ring. Julius goes out, but gets shoved back in the ring again, and Wilson joins him to slam Julius onto the steel steps. Pretty Deadly, they begin to isolate Julius in their corner, and they make tags just left and right, left and right. So now we got some good old tag team wrestling. All right. And so Wilson tags in, and he hits an elbow drop to the back. And then Wilson applies a Boston Crab and to the taunt of Roderick Strong. But Julius powers out and tags Brutus. Brutus runs over Prince and then hits Gorilla like a hammer blow. So Brutus deadlifts Prince and swings him into Wilson. Then throws him around. So we get some more Brutus smashes back and forth. Going to the finish, we have Prince and Julius. They go to the top ropes in his shooting star press. Julius then hits a basement clothesline, and they get the win and the championships. The new NXT championships, the Creed brothers. All right, it's a good matchup. This was one of the better matches too. It was a lot of action back and forth. If you like tag team wrestling, I would say this is a good example of tagging in, tagging out, letting the individual guys wrestle, not allow double team moves that took over the match, but enough to get the job done. So, congratulations to the Creed brothers, straight out of my hometown. You guys deserve it. And now we're going to get to the main event. We've got Braun Breaker, the prodigy of NXT, and Joe Gacy with his Druids. If Breaker gets disqualified, he loses the NXT Championship. Well, Breaker's going to have to keep his attitude in check. The bell rings, and after Gacy taunts Breaker and the young champion rushes the challenger, Gacy slaps Breaker, who then shoulders him until the referee count is at 4 but stops. Gacy catches him with a backbreaker, but Breaker fires back with a clothesline and a belly-to-belly, all Steiner style here. Breaker punches Gacy down in the corner, then counters with a leapfrog and a spinebuster. Gacy rolls out near the Druids, and Braun goes out after him. One of the Druids hands Braun a steel chair, and Gacy shoves him in, and basically shoves him right into the ring post. Gacy grabs a sleeper. Braun fights up, but then he's beaten down in the corner, and Gacy hits a running punch. So these guys are going back and forth, and this happened with Gacy playing the mind games on Braun Breaker. This was a way to play that cult-like leader mind games, to kind of see if you can do a Bray Wyatt type style with Gacy. So that's kind of what they're looking for, just not as supernatural. So Gacy goes up, basically as this match goes forward, Gacy rolls on the outside later on, and Breaker wipes him out with a tope. Braun gets Gacy back inside, but one of the Druids gets on the apron, and Breaker pulls him into the ring, and the referee is distracted. During which time, the other Druid basically hands Gacy a chair, and he pulls an Eddie Guerrero, and he pretends to get hit with this chair, throws it off to the side. He and the referee argue about the disqualification and Breaker, but another referee runs out and down to prevent him, and Gacy tries to roll Breaker up, but he kicks out. Braun clobbers Gacy, and he rolls to the apron while Breaker shoulders him, and he flies and he lands on the announcer's desk. Breaker gets Gacy back inside, and he hits his patented Steiner Bulldog for a near fall. Gacy grabs the steel chair and hands it to Breaker, who picks it up, and Gacy begins to say hi and says to hit him. Braun thinks about it, but then puts the hands and then hands it to the referee and says no, who throws it out of the ring. Gacy low blows Braun and rolls him up, and he kicks out. Braun is irate. He's starting to get mad. Those shoulder guards are coming down, right? Those straps. And then Gacy hits his handspring, but Braun spears him out of nowhere. And Breaker with the military power press slam for the win and the pin and the title defend. That is Braun Breaker, your current NXT champion. All right, guys. So NXT in your house. Did you like it? Did you not? I felt like there was a couple good matches. If you're going to watch it, watch Braun Breaker. And if you're not for just his match, but watch to see how he develops in NXT. He's their main feature guy. We got to watch how he does it with other talents. So Braun Breaker, I would say watch for Toxic Attraction on some level. But the best match of the night, I'm going to say, is the Creed Brothers tag team match. I felt like that match really got it going tonight. And then I'm going to say the Carmelo match was pretty good too. So was this an average event? Yes. Was this an NXT event? The B-level team? Yes, it was, But you know what? I like seeing what's coming up from the indies. And so right now what I like is I like the veterans down there, like Mandy Rose helping out these young veterans to build the female stable. And I like that they're just kind of honing in on Braun Breaker and letting him build himself. This is the Braun Breaker era of NXT, and it's in your house live on the WWE Peacock Network. So those are my final thoughts. What are yours? Throw them down in the comments down below or hit me up on Twitter. Anyway, I appreciate you guys, and that is it. And we don't have to go, we don't have to leave, and it's not goodbye. But just remember, like, share, subscribe, and it's not goodbye, but it is what? Game over. Have a good night, guys.